Thank you, panelists. Attendees, if you still have questions on the Hail Catechism, be sure to check out the learning module on the Hail Catechism at darpaconnect.us. As Andy mentioned, for our next session, we're taking a closer look at connecting with DARPA's program managers. We've got a host of DARPA PMs joining us right here in Bozeman, and we'd like to hear straight from the source. So let's welcome Tiffany Prest as our moderator for this session, in conversation with DARPA PMs Chris Bettinger, Chris Kent, and Shauna Sweet, to share their practical tips on everything from initiating outreach to common pitfalls to avoid. Take it away, panelists.
Great. Okay. Well, thanks everyone for coming to this event. Always great to make new friends. So this session, we're really going to be focusing on kind of how, so we talked a little bit about the how more questions, right? Like how do you actually talk to a program manager? But now we're going to talk a little bit about strategies for engaging with program managers. So obviously we are just like everybody else. We, as I like to say, put our pants on one leg at a time. So we're very approachable, we're very engaging. We have a diverse set of backgrounds, and we are always very excited to talk about science and new and interesting things. So I think one of the things that is really important to remember is that program managers' times here are very, very, very limited. We have 4 years, maybe 5. So we run fast, we run hard. And like I said, our time is very limited. So, get to the point when you want to reach out to us. But please, please, please do email us. We're easily accessible. Unlike other US government agencies, like that may not be as outward facing, we're super outward facing. You can come talk to us anytime. There are lots of ways to engage with us. And that's key, right? That's key. Starting the conversation and just reaching out and saying, hey, I have this technology, or hey, I have this idea. You can always reach out to us directly. I mean, there's also the Open BAA, but right. So I think moving through then to the actual panelists, I think maybe perhaps what we could do is, I think there's some extra. Yeah, here we go. Okay. So let's think about programmatically what program managers think about, and maybe perhaps what you can potentially think about. So we here at DARPA like high risk, high reward, right? So we take things from, I think Andy mentioned TRL 1, 2, 3. I like to sometimes think about it as TRL 0, like it's literally just an idea. Maybe no one's ever thought of doing this before. That's totally okay. But making sure that you have some sort of idea that you want to go with, and then identify, the opportunity space to make the difference, right? Write up your HQs, think about it, wrestle with it, and then kind of move through to actually having a conversation, engaging with the program manager directly. I mentioned that we, our term limits are very, very short, in 3 to 5 years, oftentimes 4. And that also means that, you may be engaging with a program manager that just arrived. You may be engaging with a program manager that's literally walking out the door. All of them are equally valid, but they may have different goals in mind. And so just be aware of that. The other thing that I'll say is that I think that in the building, we are probably I think our agency is probably the most engaging and the most collaborative agency that I've seen, outside of maybe an academic institution. And one of the things that I really try to do as a program manager, I know all y'all do this too, is really try to, if I'm not the right person, I will pass you on to the right person, or I will at least help you find the right person. So if your idea isn't right for me, that's okay. I'll see if I can figure out the person that you should be talking to. So again, when thinking about engaging, just reach out. I know it's hard, but it's scary, but please don't be scared. Just do it. Just do it. Okay. So let's see here. Moving on to the panelists now. Let's start with the question. Tell us a bit about yourself, your role at DARPA, and where your program ideas typically come from. So let's start with Shauna.
Oh man. Okay. Hello. So Shauna Sweet, and I think one of the things I'll, because of as an introduction to myself, I'll actually pick up on one of the things that was just said, right? Which is that we're here to help. And also it's a team sport, right? You've already heard that kind of one of the ways in which the H3 really extends beyond the current state of the art to transformative technologies is that it's taking insights from one discipline and moving them to the next. If you come into the building, right, and we're not the right person, we'll send you somewhere else. A lot of us, right, through our time at DARPA or just kind of through our experiences in the world, we have a robust set of experiences. So come to us. So I am a statistician or a latent variable modeler by formal training, and I'm a systems engineer by trade. So I've spent a ton of time, right, going from prototype to production with a multitude of systems in cryptographic engineering, AI, ML, right, statistical analysis, data mining. I only have a fraction, right, of those backgrounds. And I think, but the important thing is that when you think about any of our backgrounds, it's very rare that you're going to find a DARPA manager that is not only super deep, right, but also we have a breadth of experiences that allow us to basically flexibly interact with all of you. Where do my kind of program ideas come from? I usually look at the world and I look at the things inside our computer systems, inside our analytics, and everybody wants to work around something. There's an error. My favorite is LLMs. Please, yeah, that's a different conversation, right? But when you have LLMs, right, and you look at the way in which the commercial world is essentially engaging those models, they say, well, what we're going to do is we're going to promise you that there's no hallucinations. We can have a deeper conversation about that, but I look at the hallucination fact and I say, that's a feature, not a bug. Yes. Okay. Some people are like, yes, right. But I look at those places where everywhere else in the world, and particularly in the commercial space, we seek to minimize, we seek to obfuscate, we seek to work around, we try to control. And I say, if we go to the fundamentals of the mathematics, right, how can we as a nation benefit from actually thinking really deeply, going back to first principles? And how do I use the very thing that everybody else thinks is a nuisance? Because the thing is, you can't escape the math, right? So that's kind of where my head is at most of the time. And I think importantly, when you come and talk to me or anyone else, right, bring your technical ideas and be ready to ask questions, not in a like adversarial way, but like let's have a chat about how you're thinking about those things. And that's because also importantly, my ideas also come from you, right? I'm not always going to think about where my H3 is, but I'm looking to you to see what are the possible avenues of solution, because I certainly don't have all the answers.
All right, one of the Chris's.
Yeah, good morning. So it's nice to meet you all. My name is Chris Bettinger. I'm program manager in BTO, Biological Technologies Office. It's great to be with you. And so I think when I'm in, and so my background's in, I come from academics. I'm interested in cell engineering, specifically engineering red blood cells to do interesting things. So when I think about this problem set, how you engage with us, I've seen a few different tactics, right? One is like you take an old NSF proposal, shoot it across the wire, right? Low risk, right? But also very much like low reward, right? Because if it doesn't fit into what we want to do, and we just like, okay, like delete, like not, misses the mark, right? You're really trying to thread the needle, and statistically, you're just not going to do it, right? The better approach, and it's a higher risk approach, higher touch approach, right, is to do what Shauna's saying, and it's engage with us, right? Create a partnership where we sit on the same side of the table. We look at a compelling problem like space, right? And we ask questions kind of together, looking at the problem set together, as opposed to across the table, just passing proposals and feedback, back and forth. Like that's very counterproductive in my opinion. And it's much more productive to have that scientific discussion. So Tiffany was alluding to this earlier. We are scientists, right? Like I come from academics. I was a professor at Carnegie Mellon in Pittsburgh before I joined. I plan to go back there. We are all scientists at the end of the day. And so I think the more you can adopt a service mentality as well. Like, it might be you put a bunch of time in, we look at a problem set, you write your proposal, and then, guess what? You don't get it, right? And then that really might not be great. You're like, okay, why would I do that, right? But again, the more you adopt the service mentality, thinking about, helping the agency and the nation, right? That to me is a much more productive, much more efficient way to just, do what we're all here to do. And that's just move the ball forward. So, Tiffany.
Do you want to give it a shot?
Sure. So I am very mission focused in general. Pretty much everything is, for me anyway, is usually going after gaps. I usually try to go after that. I like the word serve. I try to serve well in everything I do. I look to the people I work with to do that, be that businesses or wherever. It is important to remember that. I find H1 and H4 very important because for me, that's where it comes down to it. I find the gap and the problem, and then we figure out the solution together. Well, actually, not together. You tell me what it is. But yeah, we'll figure that out. But yeah, that is a really important part of it. But reaching out, I in personal, I'm a LinkedIn addict. So at least for me, I find that very advantageous. Feel free to reach out to me there, and then I will move from there to, depending on the context, we'll move into email.
So I think this all really touches on something that maybe y'all are questioning, which is, how mature does my idea need to be before I reach out to you? And I will say, from my own personal experience, you don't have to have already done the research. We're not NIH, we're not NSF, right? You don't need to have the research done to then tell us that you need money to do the research that you've already done. So you don't have to do that. Don't reuse your proposals. So don't send me your NIH, NSF proposal. Please don't. Just don't. And then, thirdly, I would say, from my own perspective, I love when people come to me with, like, I'm probably going to hate myself for saying this, but I love when people come to me with half-baked ideas because they're like, oh my gosh, I was in the shower and I thought of this thing and I don't know, like, maybe it could happen. And then I'm like, first of all, don't tell me that you were in the shower. But secondly, you can come with me to your half-baked ideas and then we can have a conversation. Like, that's the conversation starter, right? You're like, wouldn't it be cool if we could do this? I don't know how we can do it, but I have this widget and I don't know, maybe the widget can help.
Yeah, because double click on that. I know the whole idea of, like, don't send your proposals. I will sort of throw a hand grenade in the room here, and that's basically that. I actually don't mind that, not as a proposal. Don't propose with your old proposal, but if you have a proposal that captures the essence of your ideas or your technology, and that's the easiest, quickest way to get us a detailed assessment of what you're doing. I have no problem. Like, you can email the proposal. Like, don't propose the proposal, but email it to me, and we'll work on it together, and we can have a call. Like, hey, here's what we're thinking. Here's what we're thinking for that project, obviously. And then it's like, okay, Chris, what do you think? How we could use this? And then, so again, the other maybe broader kind of macro point here is that it's really PM dependence, right? And so we have these rules that those are great first order principles, but like they're not going to it really depends. Again, higher up the TRL chain, having like a specific widget that does a specific thing with certain specs and metrics, that's probably a really good idea, right? Lower in the TRL, probably less great of an idea. Have more of it just like a concept, or Tiffany saying just an idea, or a half-baked idea that could be fully baked into something more interesting. So that's it.
I would only add for what Tiffany, I love half-baked ideas as well. The only thing that tends to happen sometimes is you need to actively listen when we give you feedback on that, because some people come to us with great ideas and we give feedback on changes to those ideas, and every idea is your precious baby. We're not calling your baby ugly, but sometimes
you just got to throw that baby out.
Yeah, sometimes you got to throw that baby out.
I'm kidding.
But not a baby. Obviously, that wasn't great for our. Hopefully that's not the quote that comes out of this. So, but the point is that the discussion is really, that's our job, is to have those discussions with you. But sometimes it's not always going to come out the way you like. We're not always going to say that's a great idea, but we will give you feedback. Hopefully you find it valuable. And DARPA Connect, and you'll learn a lot more about that also, will help you find everybody in the building who might be interested in your idea. Because one of the things that's really cool is, and Tiffany was hitting on this in the last session, sometimes it's not the right solution to my problem that you thought it was, but it's a solution to somebody else's problem, and it's awesome. And I've seen a lot of performers come to me that went on to other people's programs because of that.
Yeah, and I think there's a few things that I want to kind of thread on, which is hello, hi. So there's another thing that I think is useful, to the fact that each of us up here I would like to say we're very unique individuals, but every PM is a little bit different. So when you reach out, really be open to the fact that like you're just talking with another person. And the way that we tend to engage, because we move fast, each of us will kind of mature ideas with you in maybe a slightly different pace. And to pick up on Chris's point, right, one of the reasons that our feedback to you is so important is you guys just heard about, right, H1 through H4. For those of us that are tackling gaps, you might come and be like, man, I had this crazy weird idea in the shower and it goes back to this academic paper I read and like, you know, and then what we're going to say is, okay, I hear you. Have you ever thought about it this way? Do you think that you could extend that idea in this direction? What we're telling you through those series of questions, we have a set of careabouts. We actually have a gap that we're looking to fill, and we see an opportunity there. And so part of that responsiveness to us is we are already almost constantly, right? We've got like this like backlog of ideas, right? That we're like ready to turn into a set of programs when the time is right and the opportunity is there and the ideas are sufficiently mature. And so when you engage with us in that back and forth, like let us help you help us. Right. That's really what those conversations are about. And also, I do have to say this, if you don't get us the first time through like LinkedIn or email, it's okay. It's not you, it's us. We do tend to be extremely busy. So like we are like very good about kind of like engaging, but like do not be discouraged if like, hey, something clearly fell to, you know, a different point in our email queue. We do want to engage with you. So don't think that a non-response is.
Anybody here that's looking to engage with me, please try twice before you report me to my boss.
The squeaky wheel gets the grease.
It does get the grease, but it's sometimes unpleasant grease on my part. So, you know, those 5 p.m. emails from the office director telling me that I didn't reply to something. And I reply to everything. So I try anyway. So if it gets buried, it's me.
Okay, so I just want to follow up. I know that we're like at time, and I know that we're probably running a little bit long, but parting words. What should potential performers, people who want to have conversations with program managers? So we talked about the do's, right? What are the don'ts? Yes.
If you have done something and it is the coolest thing, and you have a proven technology and you are going to market, I love that for you. That is great. That's great, right? Please do not don't come to me with a capability statement. I would say don't come to me with a shiny deck, right? That is like perfectly polished, because the thing that I'm going to ask you is, okay, so what broke? Why are you talking to me? What is the thing that is 10 years from now what is the gap that we're looking to fill? Not tomorrow, not next week, not next month, 10 years from now. So I love that you are doing awesome stuff. But where that falls in the Heilmeyer Catechism is somewhere approximating my basis of confidence. That's all it is. It's evidence that something is possible. It's the first step. I need you to come with me to look at that journey. I need you to tell me what you don't know, as much as you tell me what you do know. That's, I think, so no shiny decks. But thank you. They're pretty.
Chris?
Yeah. Love the decks.
Love the decks.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I would say, I think about like I get some emails like this. So like, oh, here's a crazy idea. No one else is going to fund this. And DARPA does, crazy ideas. You should fund this, clearly. I'm like, like sometimes their crazy ideas are crazy for a reason, because they're just also bad, right? So we're looking for interesting ideas that kind of look like bad ideas, but they're actually really good, or there's some unique insight, or some kind of characteristic that actually, okay, like that's interesting, right? So again, crazy is sort of necessary, but not sufficient, I would say, for successfully engaging with program managers.
Yeah. For me, wouldn't it be great if, with no actual solution to that problem? Unhelpful. And in my case anyway, bring the engineering. I think that you need to show the feasibility argument early. I think some of you have probably already interacted with me, and I just go back to saying, like, show me some free body diagrams. I'm not talking but like first principles. It needs to be possible. And I will provide that feedback. I'm happy if you don't feel like you're there to get it, to work through that with you, but don't expect to make it to the next level in the discussion until we get through some of those basic things.
So I love everything that all y'all said. I think the last thing that I will impart is we all are leaders in our very niche little bubbles and fields, and we all love the things that we do. We as program managers respect all of you. So don't come to us and say, do you know who I am? Because we do. And we want to have a conversation with you. So please, 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 we as program managers will always be interested and curious and want to show respect, but also please show us some respect too. Yes, we do know who you are. That's why we're talking to you. But we also want to have a conversation. So please listen with active listening ears.